If you take the list from January to December and you have written down all the things that you have done, you will really surprise yourself by how much you can accomplish over the course of a year.
Become consistent, become disciplined. Consistency over time breeds excellence in whatever it is that you're doing.
The more problems you solve, the more income you're able to bring into your household. If you have one job and that's your only source of income, then you need to be working on 3 additional minimum.
Welcome back to Expertise Unleashed. I'm Brian.
And I am Michelle Gines.
And today we're going to be discussing the 7 ways to overcome your fears when you're trying to unleash your expertise.
All right, so diving in. So Brian, you're going to hit them with number 1 because you know that oftentimes, there's something that's keeping people from getting out there and doing the things that is going to help them be, able to do what it is that they call to do, right? So we talked about the fear as number 1, right? That's the number 1 thing that holds people back. So one of the things, the number 1 thing that they can do kind of to overcome fear as that obstacle is reframing failure as learning. Right? So when you think about reframing failure, Michelle, what does that mean exactly? Well, shifting your mindset or shifting the mindset around failure by shifting, small, manageable goals. And so when I think about small, manageable goals, I don't have to accomplish this big thing. Hey, I want to have this big business enterprise. I want to make $1 million in my business. That's a huge goal. And a lot of times if it's so big, I'm not even going to take the first step to try and do it. That's way too big. That's way too lofty. So I'm going to cower down. I'm not going to do anything. Well, you know what? Make them smaller. Start with something that's actionable that you can do in small steps. So you know what? And I'm going to say we're in the last quarter of the year. So in this last quarter, you know what? I'm going to start with, hey, let me do a little research around what it is that, my area of expertise may be consulting around business management. I've worked with businesses in helping them to get started. So I'm going to just start with, let me get my LLC done. Let me get registered with the state, get my DBA. Let me get my EIN number, and then let me get my business bank account started. Just start small. Those are 3 small goals that you can get started by the end of the year. So make it a small, one or 2 things that you can do. Put a time limit on it. So by the end of the year, by December 31st, I'm going to get this thing done. And then what happens is when you reframe that small goal into a small manageable goal, when you accomplish that, then you feel some momentum. You get some momentum with it. And then you're able to go on to that next thing. Because you were able to accomplish it, you feel good about yourself. So just reframing it as learning, like, hey, I'm going to learn a little bit as I go, and I'm going to be able to accomplish some things as I go. And it's not some big overwhelming thing that you can't get done or that you feel intimidated by.
Yeah.
So it's just reframing your mindset.
I'm reminded of that old saying that goes, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one piece at a time.
Yeah.
And so if you could just tell yourself every day, hey, listen, I have these goals. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. You will find, at the end of a certain amount of time, that fear of failure that you had, of I'm not going to make it or I'm not going to have immediate success, that won't be top of mind for you, because you did make the small actionable goals. Because you can't even have a proper business, like you said, until you file with the state, get your LLC, get your paperwork, get some of the things in line, start taking care of some of those things. And that's actually you, starting to cut, and eat that elephant one piece at a time, until the point eventually where you do have a fully functioning a business and you get to running. But, I'm often reminded of the scripture that says, as a man thinketh, so is he.
Yeah.
So the way you think about everything starting out of the gate, the first determines the rest.
Yeah.
So if we would just keep that in mind.
Yeah. That reframing the mind.
When you're reframing, that will go a long, long way.
Yeah, it does. It does. Now that'll make a difference for you. So what you got for number 2?
Number 2 is acknowledge and celebrate achievements.
Yeah.
Even when they're small, have a mental party for yourself.
Yeah.
When you take that first step, say, hey, if I'm this is what I do, this is my expertise. Okay, so how am I going to get this out there? What am I going to do? After you do the first thing, say, hey, I accomplished that. I did that. Let me celebrate myself. Now let me go ahead and go on to goal 2. And I can remember, us doing that. When we filed, with the catering company, I remember, getting that paperwork back in the mail.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to get it to say we were official. We had a registered agent. We had all those things. And the next thing was, getting a bank account. And I remember going to the bank account and I remember them, the checks coming.
Yeah.
And so that was another thing that we celebrated, and then the third thing was, getting, the first time we went and shopped for food.
Yeah.
And so that I'm thinking back and like, those are small wins, that you can celebrate, instead of, feeling like you have imposter syndrome and that you can't do it and that we got to do it like everybody else do it and comparing us to people who were already started. Hey, I'm on my own journey.
Yeah.
And I'm going to celebrate my small wins.
Absolutely. You know what? I think it's so critical. And everything is a win, even when it may not feel like it, right? I do something, especially with us being here at the end of the year, I think it's important to I could do what I call a done list. Like everybody has a to-do list, and this is a little bit counterintuitive, but write down all the things that you have done, right? And so when you start making a list of the things that you have done across your life, when you're starting to think about, over the course of this year, go back and just make a list of all the things that you have done, whether you had all the books you've read, the number of books that you've read, the number of podcasts that you've watched, the amount of research that you have done, all of the things that you have done, even in preparation for getting ready to launch. All the things that you have done, the videos maybe that you have watched, all of the documentation that you've gotten together. All of these things are considered wins because it is the preparation that you have needed to get ready to go. And so all of those things are wins, big or small. This is everything that you have done. So that done list becomes part of the efforts that you have made to get you towards meeting this goal.
And what else, the other thing that it does, especially when you're starting out, as you look back and you celebrate the victories, you can pull out that done list and say, hey, when because we're human.
Yeah.
And sometimes that doubt will creep in.
Yep.
Something's taking too long. This doesn't go right. I knew it. Something's happening. It's not going to happen. You can pull that out and say, hey, I've come this far.
Yes.
And so now it becomes fuel and motivation for you to keep going, and not stop, because you do have a list and because you have celebrated and you can look back and say, hey, you know what? I know this is coming up, but I'll figure the way out. We'll get through it and it'll help you to keep going.
Yeah, it will. You know what? I always think about if you take the list from January to December and you have written down all the things that you have done, you will surprise yourself. You will really surprise yourself by how much you can accomplish over the course of a year. And when you look at it from month to month and from quarter to quarter, and then by the end of the year, you're like, man, I have accomplished way more than I ever thought that I would have. And you do it, and you'll keep doing it. You'll keep doing it. You'll keep doing it. And surely you will achieve all the goals that you have placed, that you've put in place. So that's just another way of getting there, guys. That's just another way of getting there. So what's number 3? Oh, it's 3 on me?
Yeah, 3's on you.
3's on me. All right. So develop a simple business roadmap. Now, people will say, oh, what's a business roadmap? Well, break down the process. You know, sometimes it's having a framework, you know, like it's the steps, you know, those steps that you take, identifying. And when I talk about steps, I'm talking about, you know, it's identifying your target audience, right? Mm-hmm. It is defining what your offer is. What is it that you're going to deliver for them? And when I talk about offer, it is, you know, what is it that they're going to get from the service that you provide? And then defining what is the timeline? How much time is it going to take for them to be able to get the result that you're going to help them achieve? You know, what is that process that they are going to go through, that timeline that it's going to take, you know, for them to be able to achieve the result that you're going to help them achieve? And so that is that business roadmap, because that's what you and your expertise is going to help them ultimately do. And that's what people are going to come to you to get. And so when we think about those unique superpowers that you have, that unique experience that you have, that you're helping somebody to be able to, you know, that you're leveraging to help somebody else, that problem that you're helping somebody solve, they're coming to you for, that's when you're going to need to pull that roadmap out, because that's what they're coming to you for. And you give them the roadmap to help them be able to do it. And so that is one of those ways. This is a way for you. This is a way for you to be able to help get over a fear. If you've got a roadmap and a process that you can explain to somebody, you ain't got no fear in there. That gets you over the fear. You know how to help them do it. It makes it simple. You can show it to them in easy, actionable steps. All right.
I agree. I think you said it well.
All right. Okay.
So number 4 is start with small, consistent efforts. And you remember in the previous episode, that was, you know, people have a fear of being overwhelmed and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so that's when I talked about that time inventory, you know, and again, this is where you really want to become specific, you know, with that time. So when you take your time inventory and you look at the time that you have, what you want to do, let's just say you have an hour. So you're going to have a roadmap. So within that hour, this is what I'm going to do, you know, and then it's like I said, eating the elephant again. You know, you want to take those bites one bite at a time. So within that hour, okay, I'm going to spend this hour on defining what my avatar is or what my core audience is. Mm-hmm. You know, like I said, again, I'll use the sales example. Okay, I want to go sell X. Okay, so how do I reach this amount of people with X at this amount of time, you know, with this, whatever it is, you know, how do I do that? You know, and so you want to take that hour and pour in that hour whatever it is that's on your business roadmap that you have from step 3. And so that will help you be able to, you know, not only you won't be overwhelmed because you have that hour blocked out, is what I should say. You won't be overwhelmed, but you'll know, hey, when the hour's up, you know, I look at my calendar and the next hour that I have in the week, I'm going to do X, I'm going to do this. You know, if that mm-hmm. makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of like time blocking is what we used to call it. You know what? You put that fixed amount of time on your calendar, just like you would put, hey, I've got to go and do XYZ thing from 9 to 10 o'clock on Tuesday. I'm doing this. And that's what you dedicate that time to do, that particular item. And when you block out that time, it makes it easy for you to do. You do it and you set the timer. And boom, when the timer starts, you start. When the timer ends, you end. But you've got that time specified and dedicated to do that particular thing. It might be building your audience, or working on who your audience and avatar is one time. Another time block is specific around what is my offer. Another time is set up with, working on my roadmap to how I'm going to deliver on that offer. So yeah, you specify the time. So no, I like it. It's time blocking.
And be consistent.
Yeah.
Don't
do it.
If you set your calendar up and you have, 3 days a week that you're going to do an hour, do the 3 days a week and do the hour.
Absolutely.
Become consistent, become disciplined. Mm-hmm. Because consistency over time, one of my mentors told me this, consistency over time breeds excellence.
Yeah.
In whatever it is that you're doing. So just be consistent.
Yeah, be consistent at it. All right. So number 5 is building that financial safety net. And so we talk about, that savings goal to cover your basic expenses. Everybody talks about, here, I'm not even going to look at my notes on this one. This is an easy one.
Yeah, we know this.
The stuff that you know how to do, if you've got a 9-to-5 that you're working, but you have an extra skill that you can do the extra skill in your free time. Now, here's what I'm going to tell people about free time. Your free time is not really free time, okay? Your free time you use to do some extra time. You use to build some extra income, okay? We don't tell our kids that money doesn't grow on trees, right? Like you would hear that little cliche a lot of time. What we tell them is money's not something that you have or don't have. Money is something that you can create. All right. So you spend your free time, right? Your extra time off work time, you spend that creating. And as great as you can create is as great as you can develop more income. So if you want to use your free time to spend it on Netflix and YouTube, scanning. Now, we want you to tune into the podcast. So we do want you to do this because this is actual learning. You can learn some stuff on YouTube. But what we want you to know is take the learnings and actually apply them. And you can build a safety net. Even if you are doing, say that you are, what you're going to work on is how do I create $500 a month? And we're going to bring you a video that's going to teach you how to make $5,000 in income in a quarter. Okay. Every quarter, how do I get $5,000 worth of income? Okay. We'll teach you how to do that. And that's what you do. You focus your time and energy on how do I bring extra income? You do not have free time. You have time that you can create income to produce. And so what you want to do is focus your time on being able to do that. So how do I get creative? You know what? That's when I'm doing my time blocking that Brian just talked about and spend time on making that time more valuable by leveraging ways that I can use my expertise. I can leverage it to solve problems for other people, because the more problems you solve, the more income you're able to bring into your household. We all know, just like in the Bible, it talked about having there were 4 streams that fed into the Garden of Eden. And so you want to have 4 streams of income that feed into your life.
Minimum.
If you have one job and that's your only source of income, then you need to be working on 3 additional minimum. So that's why we're talking about unleashing your expertise, because you need to be, as a kingdom believer, you need to be operating like the kingdom operates, and you should have at least 4 streams of income flowing into your household at all times. Right. And we will show you how to do that.
And in regard to that safety net, I do want to challenge people, because we're challenged with this at times. Scrutinize your budget. What in your budget? Because if you're talking about saving and you don't want to have the stress of having to do X, Y, and Z or worry about X, Y, and Z when you finally want to launch your business, if that's what you want to do full time, scrutinize your budget and see where you're spending extra money on that can be saved, that can go towards that can go towards an electric bill or can go towards a light bill and things like that. I believe if you scrutinize your budget, you may be able to find some things where you can cut that are not useful for you. And also, along with that, I don't know how many millionaires and billionaires probably watch a whole lot of TV, but I would guess probably a lot of not, depending on what industry that they're in.
Yeah.
So a lot of that goes into it too.
Yeah.
As far as building your safety net and not having to have that concern when you're wanting to launch your business.
Yeah. All right. So we better jump on to number 6.
So outsource or automate essential tasks.
Yeah.
Now, again, that goes to in the previous episode, where we talked about, perceived complexity of owning a business. So when you get to the point, okay, I'm ready to start my business. I have a financial safety net. I'm ready to launch into it. All of those things, just like on our jobs, those people who are fortunate enough to have admins, and if you're a manager, you may have assistants, or if you're a director, you have managers that you can delegate to. This is kind of a simple one. You want to have more of your time freed up, as Michelle mentioned earlier, so you can create, and so you want to delegate some of those tasks, those things that are easy. Now there's a lot of programs out there for you to have virtual assistants. Use that.
Yeah.
And they're actually very low cost.
Yeah.
That can take some of the things off of your brain, so your brain can be freed up to be able to create, and do other things for your business that you need to do.
Yeah. One thing that I would say too, this is where we leverage tools and resources like AI. You can use AI to do some of your
100%.
Minimal tasks. You're able to leverage platforms like your Fiverrs and Upwork and freelancers and things like that. Some of those resources become ways that you're able to get things in your business done that you don't have to do on your own. So if you are, say for example, we have used, as publishing consultants, we have been able to leverage freelancer.com and upwork.com to be able to get some of the work that we needed done for some of our authors. We've been able to get book covers done, from freelancers, so that because we don't do every part of the business ourselves. We get other business and freelancers to do some of the work to make sure that it all happens. We just administrate, making sure that it all comes together. And at the end of it, that it's all done and it looks great and that the client is happy. So that's part of automating and outsourcing some of those resources. And what happens is you're able to put a cost on top of what you pay the freelancer to get the work and stuff done. So that's what outsourcing does for you. And so I read a book, and I can't think of the name of the author but the book is called Who, Not How. It used to be a time like back in the early 90s, early 2000s, where everybody wanted to DIY and do everything themselves. And it's kind of like, I ain't doing everything myself. I'm going to pay somebody to get some of the stuff I need to get done. And then when they do the stuff that I need to get done, I don't mind paying them a premium cost. And there are people who pay me as a consultant to make sure that their stuff gets done. And then I've got to pay somebody else to make sure that the stuff that my client needs to get done gets done. And that is the world of work and outsourcing. And so anyway, I would just tell you that you don't have to do all of it yourself. Get a who, and you don't have to know how. All right. Take that as a nugget. All right. Next, what do we got, Brian?
So the final one, and this is critical, seek supportive feedback.
Absolutely.
First. So I, have a business mentor, and they have been tremendous in helping me just frame frame the way I think about things. And one of the last things that actually on our meeting this morning, that I was told was, hey, don't forget, when you are launching these new programs or doing some of the things that you want to do, don't forget to send that out to, your peer group, people who are skilled in that, to find out what they're saying, to give you feedback on what it is you are wanting to do. So I think that is very critical to get feedback, from people who support you, people who are already doing what you want to do. Yeah, I will say this too. You will be surprised at how even when you reach out to people that you don't know, who are already miles ahead of where you are, where you may potentially want to go, how may they be willing to help you, on your journey? Because, most people who are doing good business, they're not threatened by helping other people because they look at themselves as a one of one, like we discussed in the last episode. So, because you are one of one, just reach out to people, and seek that supportive feedback, from people that are around you. And I think you'll be surprised at, what the reaction you'll get and what they say and how much people want to help you when they see you doing something first.
Yeah. You know what? One quote that I remember getting that has always been tremendous is in that I value a lot. And it is, a candle loses none of its shine by lighting another candle.
Absolutely.
And that's forward, like for you, like we don't mind helping other people and sharing. That's why we even doing the podcast, like to be able to help and inspire and encourage, to be a resource and a help to other people. And then also getting that same help, just like Brian said, from the mentors and coaches that have helped us, like they haven't had any problem sharing and pouring into our lives. And we don't have a problem pouring into and sharing into other people's lives. And that's what we think that it's all about. That's how people help each other. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode this week. And don't forget to follow us on all the social media platforms. We look forward to seeing you over there. And so don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Brian?
As I always say, some people are meant to create small businesses. Some people are meant to create big businesses. And some people are meant to create empires. Which one are you?